I love the folks over at Montreal Hockey Now, because when you go out there and you write articles talking about weird ideas like this, it allows me to take those ideas, bring them over here on the channel, spread your articles to a wider audience. Like, that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm just promoting an article that I saw and that I read here. And we get to use this conversation topic as video fodder to get a conversation started here on this YouTube channel as well. This is not something that I think realistically is going to happen, nor do I think this is something the Canadiens should even go out there and try to do. But we have an article in Montreal Hockey Now published by, who the heck is the writer of this piece? Jimmy Murphy. From 4 days ago, May 23rd, 2022, should the Montreal Canadiens target Kirby Dach on the NHL's trade market? Now, at first glance, you see the title, you see the article pop up, and you're like, okay, what the heck? Kirby Dach, of all people? Montreal? I know the Canadiens fan base likes to go out there and spread rumors, but Kirby Dach? Come on. Kirby Dach is a 21-year-old, 6'4", 196-pound right-handed center who is currently making $0 at the time of recording this audio. He is an unsigned RFA, and he does need a contract extension to continue his NHL career. He was taken by the Blackhawks 3rd overall in the 2019 NHL Entry Draft in a pretty interesting spot, mostly because a lot of people were kind of projecting, okay, the Blackhawks could get a two-way caliber center in Alex Turcotte, who is a Chicago guy, at 3rd overall. They could go Bowen Byram and get the defenseman, but instead they went Dach, and Dach ever since has been an NHL athlete, albeit not the best one comparative to what a lot of people thought he would be able to accomplish so far in his young NHL career. In his rookie season, he had 23 points in 64 games played and 6 points in the postseason. That was the bubble playoffs, where the Blackhawks defeated the Oilers in the play-in series and then lost in the first round. He then had 10 points in 18 games the next year after missing a good chunk of that season with injuries. It was really unfortunate to see Dach miss out on all the time that he had. He had 0 games played as the captain of Team Canada because he got taken out in, what was it, one of the pre-tournament games or whatever the heck they're called, like scrimmages or group play or friendlies, whatever the heck it's called. He had an injury right off the bat. It took him out for the rest of the season. It was really unfortunate to see. This previous season, though, Kirby Dach played pretty much the full year. 70 games played, only 9 goals and 17 assists for 26 total points, and he was a -18. Do the math over 82 games, you have yourselves a pace of about 30-ish points, which isn't really what a lot of people would have expected out of a Kirby Dach, a 3rd overall player playing in his 3rd NHL season in a contract year as a 21-year-old. There certainly is a lot more to be desired when it comes to the development and the long-term projectability of Kirby Dach in his game. But with his RFA status now in the forefront, we have ourselves some conversations to go out there as to whether or not he could actually enter the trade market. The article on Montreal Hockey Now talks about how Kirby Dach is an interesting name that has recently emerged in trade rumors, and if the rumors are true, Habs GM Kent Hughes should be ringing up Chicago Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson ASAP if he has not already. The reason Kirby Dach's name has entered the trade rumor sphere is because of the Boston Globe. Hall of Fame puck scribe Kevin Paul Dupont opined that the Boston Bruins should look into what it would take to pry away RFA center Kirby Dach from the Blackhawks on the trade market. With the entire idea that Patrice Bergeron is not going to be there, David Krejci's already gone too, the Bruins need to kind of go sicko mode when it comes to replacing their center core, and Kirby Dach could be the long-term solution to those quandaries. From Dupont, it's written out here, the Blackhawks, for example, need proven roster parts, and they are desperate for a change in fan narrative after their disgraceful bungling of the Kyle Beach case. As of this writing, they have yet to come to terms on a contract extension for Dach, and he projects as a #1 center. Yes, it's debatable if he has shown enough so far for the Bruins to consider parting with DeBrusk and Carlo. My goodness, that's the trade proposal he goes out there and highlights? Okay, I see where you're coming from. It offers an example of the kind of discussion Sweeney could have right now for a high-end young center that he otherwise would have 0 chance of landing. It takes assets to acquire assets. Jimmy Murphy on Montreal Hockey Now comes back and he says that if the Montreal Canadiens do draft Shane Wright, which they're going to, don't worry, and they deem him ready for the NHL, he will definitely strengthen the center position. However, even with Shane Wright added and potentially Riley Kidney too, it's written about here in the article, I don't think that's going to happen in any respect. Is the Canadiens' NHL roster really that deep up the middle as currently constituted, and could they not use Dach's size and skill? The Habs finished last season with Suzuki as their top-line center, Jake Evans as your second center, Christian Dvorak at third, and Ryan Poehling as your fourth-line center. There have been hockey talks about whether or not Christian Dvorak is going to get traded, and if you do that, would Dach not slot in better at the 2C spot behind Suzuki with any combination of Evans, Poehling, and Wright, and maybe even Kidney to strengthen out the middle now and in the future? The article then closes off by saying if the Canadiens could entice the Blackhawks with the 29th overall pick, a roster player like a Mike Hoffman, a Josh Anderson, or a Jeff Petrie, and a top prospect, could they pry Dach off the trade market? Now, I'm going to go out there and say no right away. This is my immediate instinctual response to the idea of Kirby Dach becoming a Montreal Canadien. Firstly, because I do really want to believe in Kirby Dach. I think at his best, he could be like a Ryan Getzlaf 2.0, just a super big, fluid, and mobile guy who's got really good hands and fantastic passing ability, almost Ryan Getzlaf to a T. It's just Kirby Dach and the certainty of him being able to hit that Ryan Getzlaf-like ceiling. We're seeing a lot more reason to doubt today than we were, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago when he was initially drafted in 2019. It hasn't been the best for Kirby Dach so far, and I know he's only 21 years old. He could totally work out in his favor, and he could definitely become a good NHL player down the line. He could be a star. He could be an 80, 90-point player down the line one day, right? But just from all things being considered today, the certainty not being there in the same way it had been a while ago kind of concerns me. And in a position where the Montreal Canadiens could potentially give up a 29th overall pick, which would be valuable because you have Kent Hughes coming in here in his first NHL draft, taking a whole bunch of prospects. You've got first-round picks from Toffoli. You've got first-round picks from Ben Sherratt. Sure, some of the first-round picks you have are not for this year, but still, first-round picks are first-round picks. They're like candy. You need to hold on to these, as well as trading away a roster player like a Hoffman or an Anderson or a Petrie that could also fetch you some significant assets should you trade those guys individually, plus a top prospect. It really makes this Kirby Dach thing a lot less worth it, in my opinion, when you consider that Kirby Dach maybe has a 30 or 40% chance at hitting his ceiling, whereas a few years ago we thought that that chance was maybe 60-65%. It's dwindling a little bit, and my trust in his development is not really in the same position of confidence as it had been before. Furthermore, this entire idea of trading for Dach is so contingent on the earlier idea of trading away Christian Dvorak that if you ultimately wanted to do this, you would have to go through so many dominoes to make it work that, honestly, I don't really know the likelihood of anything like this even going down the same way that Murphy is writing about in his article. Because, let's say you're not able to trade away a Christian Dvorak. All of a sudden, your center core is Suzuki, Dvorak, Wright, and then Dach? Like, I don't know about you, but any of these guys, Dvorak, Wright, or Dach, I don't want to play them on the fourth-line center position. Oh, just move Shane Wright to the wing. Do you really want to be taking your first overall caliber center, a guy who could become a #1 center down the line, and playing him on the wing to start out his NHL career? You want to set that guy on the right track right away, don't you? You want to play this guy at center, give him limited minutes, and allow him to experience what it's like being a guy who commands the middle of the ice on an NHL rink. And you could honestly say the same thing about Kirby Dach, who has had all this development time so far, but who just has not broken out into the star that we all believed he could be just yet. So to me, Kirby Dach, even though he does have a boatload of potential, I do still want to believe in this guy. I do still think he has a high ceiling. The likelihood of him fulfilling it is just not certain enough for me to go out there and say, yeah, I'd trade away Petrie and a first-round pick and another prospect for Kirby Dach if I was Kent Hughes. I do feel like there are other players that you could get a lot more value out of in the short term, as well as potentially in the long term too, who have higher likelihoods of being okay players, rather than Dach, who has been sort of declining over the past few years, and who has a lower percentage chance of becoming an NHL star. Sure, he can be a star, but I don't know how likely it is, and that to me is the kicker. So, talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about Kirby Dach and the idea of him getting traded over to the Montreal Canadiens. I will leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read Jimmy Murphy's article on Montreal Hockey Now. It's a really good one. Go ahead and give the Hockey Now folks some more ad views, because that's kind of what we're doing here, right? We make stuff online. It's content. It's digital media. It's stuff that's made for your viewing, reading, listening, entertainment. So, talk to me in the comments all your thoughts, get involved in the conversation about Kirby Dach and the Canadiens. Would you want to see this player get sent over to Montreal? If you're a Canadiens fan, what would you give up for Kirby Dach? If you're a Blackhawks fan, what would you want from the Canadiens in exchange for your former 3rd overall pick? And please, don't say, oh, I want the 1st overall pick in 2022. Give us Shane Wright, baby. That's not gonna happen. I unfortunately hate to break it to you. So let me know in the comments all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 and bye.